vision without action is hallucination, right? So I would rather everyone in here not be a visionary. I would rather everyone in here be an actionary. Your vision will be limited to the size and frequency of actions you take. What if everything in your calendar for the last 30, 60, 90 days was the only evidence that someone had, a third party, as to what your vision was, right? Think about that. What if everything in your calendar, a forensic detective reviewed your calendar, reviewed where you're spending money, and then that forensic detective came back and said, well, I analyzed your calendar, I analyzed your transaction history, and it seems to me your vision is, right? Pretty interesting, right? Oh, we want to transform our market. We want to have all this big impact on all the clients that are in X practice area in our market, but I'm not willing to invest more in marketing. Well, boom, you just stunted your ability to execute that vision. Your vision dies every time you make decisions from the old you, because vision requires you to become a new who? A new you, right? So if you keep making decisions from historical data, which is what lawyers are trained to do, right? When you study the law, you study things from the future or the past. That's what all of law school is built around, right? So you're trained to think from proof, from a place of proof and a place of past. That's why there's so few, quote, visionaries, but I'd call actionaries, in the legal industry, which is such a big opportunity, right? So I just wanted to share that concept because it was a big takeaway from yesterday that I think everyone can benefit from, is holding yourself to such a standard that your actions are the evidence of your vision and continually living that. So within the vision concept, there's a new kind of approach I want us to look at. And it's the approach of enterprise value. And I mentioned this on a coaching session last quarter, but it's been a really big insight for me recently. And I think enterprise value is something we all can become more curious about, right? Like Vic always says, a business is a commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you, right? Commercial, profitable enterprise that works without you. And an enterprise value high law firm is a law firm that has a high sellable asset value, right? And as I've said many times, your net worth is primarily tied up in the value of your law firm for most of you, right? So the more valuable your law firm becomes, right, chances are the higher your net worth is, the more your employees are going to be able to grow within your firm, because the indicators of a high enterprise value law firm are typically the indicators of a healthy law firm, right? A valuable law firm to an external third party, like an investor, right, typically means the firm is not owner dependent, typically means the firm has a scalable and differentiated moat around its marketing strategy. How many of you want both of those two things? Raise of hands. Yes in the chat if you're virtual, right? So we all, those are just two of the elements, right? I could go list all of the elements of what creates a valuable company, right? A sales process that works without you, right? Profits.
What's great leadership?
Yeah, that's what everyone should be thinking.
Great.
That's a great question to ask yourself. What's great leadership? So I want us to work backwards from enterprise value. So let's ask ourselves a question. What are the things that relate to my law firm's vision that also relate to me building a more valuable law firm? And I can almost guarantee everyone in this room that your list is going to be identical. The things you want in your law firm are going to be identical to the things that produce a high enterprise value law firm, which is super exciting, right? So how many of you would like your law firm to be worth over $100 million? Raise of hands. Okay, seems like everyone. Okay, very good. So, has anyone done that before in the legal industry? Yeah, right? So, how do we reverse engineer from that? Well, we need to understand multiples. You don't have to sell your law firm when you have high enterprise value. Gives you options, though, right? I would want everyone to have the problem of, dang, too many people are throwing $50 million checks at me. I have to take another call with, How many of you would like to have that problem? Doesn't mean you have to accept it. Now, what do you think if you don't want to sell your law firm? Let's put the reverse of that, right? And let's say you wanted to buy your competitors. What is a bank gonna determine their lending ability on? Value of your law firm, right? Which is typically gonna be a multiple on EBITDA, right? And your multiple on EBITDA is gonna be a merge of the growth rate of your firm and your profits. And then all these other factors that they subtract away from, right? So I want everyone to have the goal of having a law firm that's worth $100 million, right? Because it's possible. And we attract a group of good-hearted, hard-working attorneys in this group that care about their clients. So chances are, if you push like this into your marketplace, you're going to have a greater impact than one of the competitors in your market pushing, right? So it's kind of your ethical duty and obligation to gobble up market share. Ethical duty and obligation, what? I believe you're being unethical if you don't fulfill your full potential. You have all this good that you could give to your marketplace, to your practice area, but you limit it because of the past, because of your fears. All this transformation you could create in the legal landscape in your local market, right? So when you transform this definition of ethics, right? Because the opposite of ethics, what most people think are related to ethics is, I don't want to, do something that's an ethical violation, right? Which then creates this conservative mindset around the word ethics. What if your ethical duty and obligation, your ethics definition, was to have the biggest transformative impact in your market and your practice area, or maybe even nationally, right? Now, okay, great, we're going into vision territory. Great, okay, we're getting all high. Show me the actions that you're gonna take related to this emotional high that you're feeling right now about this. Because that vision, this whole emotion you're feeling right now around this big thinking, it will die, okay, undoubtedly, if your actions violate the vision. The subconscious mind just won't retain it long enough if the actions aren't relevant to the vision for long enough. The subconscious mind will start rejecting these big visions. So all you need are a couple of wins, right? All you're looking for is a few wins. So there's this concept I've always learned, it's called pioneer, audit, systemize, right? Pioneer, audit, systemize. I've used this in every phase of growth. Pioneer means try something new. When you try something new, inevitably, 100% of anything you try that's new is not going to work. There's never anything you've tried that 100% of it worked. But did 30% of it work? So audit is looking at the 30% of every pioneering effort you did. I hired more people during this phase of my business 70% of it didn't work and caused stress, but 30%, man, I did free myself up from this. I did have one good hire. What's the common denominators of that person? I did have someone take control of this in the firm, and it improved client satisfaction like triple. Maybe there's something to this hiring thing I should probe a little deeper into, right? Same thing with marketing. These are going to be your two biggest expenses other than opportunity costs, what I call ignorance tax. That's the real biggest expense, is you want to get your firm to $10 million. Right now you're at 1, and you're going to pay life a $9 million a year ignorance tax for not knowing how to get from 1 to 10 million every single year until you learn how to do it. That's the real biggest expense in your firm. But from a P&L perspective, your two biggest expenses are going to be marketing and payroll. They should be. The average law firm, that's not the case. The average law firm is spending 5% of their revenues on marketing. And they are spending a good amount on payroll, but most firms don't actually have any payroll. So that's only a percentage that applies to a high enough revenue level to where you can actually hire someone. So you got to figure out people. It's not like the job market's hard, I can't find great people. Dude, that's half of your scaling ability. People. Figure it out. Like, get over it. What does complaining do? I would love for someone to secretly ask my team throughout this workshop how much time I complain on a quarterly basis. I don't complain about anything, ever, because I'm in action mode. What the hell can I do right now with this data? What the hell is complaining gonna do? It's never been profitable for me, therefore my brain is optimized against complaining, because it doesn't provide any value to me. I could just be taking action while I'm complaining, right? So what the hell am I gonna do to innovate my hiring process? What am I going to do to innovate my team management process? What am I going to do to innovate my vision process? Okay, cool. What's in the calendar, and what did I invest money in to solve this problem? Right? On the marketing side, 85% of everything we've done hasn't worked. Great. As soon as you can accept this, all of your competitors are going in with a belief of get rich quick. Guaranteed ROI stuff. That's why all these lead vendors you see selling like signed cases and leads pop up constantly on Facebook ads, right? Because it's preying on a poor person mentality of wanting guarantees. If you want a guarantee, go get a job. I mean, it's pretty simple. There are no guarantees in entrepreneurship, right? I always tell my team, when I started SMB team, like there's this thing called an escalation, right, in business, where someone gets mad and then you escalate it to your manager, right? Like, you guys need to tell your teams this. When you started your firms, who did you escalate to? Yeah, Jesus. Yeah. All right? Yeah. There's no such thing as an escalation. There is such thing as a victim who can't take responsibility for something and solve it themselves. Oh, I need to escalate this. Right? But what's funny is, as entrepreneurs, we escalate things by deferring blame and pointing fingers at things. Everything in your reality right now, you created as an entrepreneur. When you became an entrepreneur, you sold your right to ever complain again. You started the LLC. You hired every single person you work with. You made every decision on the marketing that you're doing. Every single thing you look at in your firm, you created. That is the best feeling ever. I would much rather be in that world than the world of victim. This happened to me. No, this happened because of me and for me. Everything. Right? Man, that is such an exciting feeling because that impels massive action. If it stops at you, you have constant massive action addiction because you know you're the one who started it and you're the person who can change it, right? So, enterprise value is where I want everyone to be focused when it comes to the health of your firm. In order to have a high enterprise value firm, I'm going to make a suggestion that everyone's vision should include what's called a driver model, which is an advanced level of an annual plan. This has been the most transformative thing I've ever done. As those of you who have been with us for multiple years, like you know, for the past couple of years, S&B team profited almost nothing. Like last year, we profited 3.5% because we've reinvested everything in the company. But actually, the reason we didn't profit a lot is because of my ignorance as an entrepreneur is why. That's the real reason. Because now, with our company has 102 full-time W-2 domestic employees now, and we're profiting more than we've ever profited. And I could have done that the prior 2 years, but I had delusional fantasies in my head that I was reinvesting, and that gave me permission to not profit anything. And that turned out to be bullshit. Because we're still reinvesting, we're still growing 200%, and we're gonna profit this year because I'm being disciplined with my financials, just like Vic said. How do you think I feel as an entrepreneur not wondering if our bank account's gonna run out of money every month? How do you think that allows me to focus more on the long term? How do you think that frees me up? Right? How do you think that would free you up? There's so many wasted expenses when I went through this exercise. And it just requires monthly discipline and tracking. Like every single month, you're gonna look at what money came in, what money went out, and why. I wasn't doing this. It changed everything. You become an 80-20 Pareto principle detective of your own law firm when you do this every single month. I realized all these things that we were doing that were just robbing our margins for no reason. Crazy. There are things that you're doing in your firm that are just robbing your profits. Which when they rob from your profits, they rob from your ability to reinvest, they rob from your ability to shower more praise and compensation on your team. They rob from your ability to be stress-free as a leader and have long-term vision. It's not just the outcome is money. Money is the fuel to you being the next version of leader for yourself, right? I didn't have to suffer the way that I did for the first 6 years of S&B team. I didn't have to, but I chose to because I was ignorant. I didn't learn fast enough on the financial side. Then when I learned this enterprise value concept and I started thinking, oh, wow, the things that create profit in a high-value company are actually the things that create a healthier business, then my mind opened to embracing this driver model, which is, again, the advanced annual plan concept. So an annual plan, in a simple perspective, is just a monthly revenue target and then reverse engineered into how many leads you need per month to reach that target, what conversion rate you want on those leads, and what average case value you expect in terms of average fee per case. That's a simple, elementary annual plan model. Anyone can do that. It just requires opening an Excel document, right? A driver model plugs drivers, or what are called lead metrics, into the model, okay? So instead of just saying, oh, what if I get 100 leads this month, right? And then convert 20% of them, I'll get 20 cases. That's a very elementary way to do an annual plan. Another way to look at that is, what are the contributing factors, the drivers, that are gonna produce those 100 leads in a month? Okay, well, we have source 1, source 2, source 3, and source 4. And those become inputs. And then attached to those sources are, what is your cost per lead? And then attached to those sources is, what's your conversion rate for each of these sources? Because it's very different. Referral, you're gonna convert leads at a way higher percentage rate than you are through a cold internet lead, right? So all of these three simple variables, when segmented, you're able to fact check your vision very quickly, right? So you're able to go, okay, I want to triple my revenues this year. I need this many leads. Here's my conversion rate from this source. Here's my conversion rate from this source. Here's my conversion rate from that. And here's how many leads I need from this source based on that conversion rate to get this many signed cases. Right? Then if one of them's lower, we take a step back as the root cause engineer of our firm. We go, why is this one lower? Why did we only get 3 referrals last month? Can I roll out something that could advance our referral strategy? Creating a referral strategy for your firm, is that a $10,000 an hour task or a $100 an hour task? $10,000 an hour task. Sit down, come up with some incentive plan or some special thing around referrals, and magically you will start getting more referrals. It's free money, right? Everyone could quadruple the number of referrals you're getting right now with just one strategy session with yourself. One meeting with yourself on this, right? You could do the same thing with every one of your marketing channels. You could do the same thing with, if you look at your intake by channel, go, how can I be the root cause detective of why our conversion rate on this lead source is only 15%? Let me go and secret shop or let me go listen to a couple recorded calls and see, how are we treating, is my team treating cold internet leads like referrals? Let me see how they're answering the call. Let me see how they're doing fact finding. Let me see how at the end of the call, they're asking for someone to make a decision or to schedule a second follow-up call, or not doing that. Right? Then you're able to do a zoomed out training to the company as a whole or to your sales team as a whole and go, hey team, I went through. Now you're being of service to your team because you went out of your way, you did research. The worst way to, spread change through a team is by venting frustration without doing your research first. The way to be of service to your team is to say, hey, I went out of my way, I batched out 4 hours, I went and listened through 17 different calls. I saw this, and this contributing factor that's taking away from your ability to sign up cases at the rate that my expectations are. Oh, they're going to listen now. Where you lose your team is where you vent to them. You really got to get access to this square fixed. You got to get active here. That's your team goes, dude, I'm busy. I don't need to listen to this crap. I'll just go work for someone else. Get away from me. That's what's really animal instinct happening when you vent to your team like that. And it's sloppy thinking. It is. You're wasting their time as you're talking through the issue, wasting their time. You need to get to the root cause of the issue first. The way you do that is listening. You do skip level meetings, right? This is why my calendar's been cleared for months now, is I just do skip level meetings all day. We see something that can improve in this department. I'm just going to have a meeting with everyone who's running this department. Tell me what you're doing here. Tell me what you're doing here. Tell me how you did this. Tell me how you did this. Show me this. Show me this. I'm taking notes. Then I go and meet with this department. Tell me what you're doing here. Tell me what you're doing. No. Then have a meeting with myself. Go, wow, this and this is happening across these 2 departments. Oh, boom. This thing has to change on a macro perspective. So then let me go to the department head and say, hey, we need to really think about this part of our process because that's going to prevent all these downstream issues that I found out. That's what CEOs do, right? So Deidre brought up something yesterday about she delegated intake fully, and then she had a $10,000 week, which was really bad for her, way lower than her expectations. She said, should I dive back in on intake? What do I do? I delegated intake, and now intake's not working. How many of you have delegated something and then 1 week didn't get the results you wanted from it? Is it ever the right strategy to dive back in, thumbs up or thumbs down? No. You should be grateful when something doesn't go to plan because that's your coaching moment for the team. That's your moment to improve strategy. The team's attention is now on this failure. Now you've got their attention because you let them fail. What's the highest level of learning we talked about yesterday? Highest level of learning. Say it. Doing. 90% learning retention comes from doing the actual thing. People retain 10% of what they hear. People retain 90% of what they actively do. If you don't let your team actively do things and actively fail, you're robbing education from them. You're robbing the number one method of learning retention from your team when you don't let them fail. Right? So one other quick thing I want to hit on before we go to the workbook is your vision changes as your survival needs get met. How many of you have gone through this? Okay. When you start your law firm, pretty hard to have a vision when you're trying to survive. Right? So the vision is, I need to get some money so I don't die. That's a vision. And by the way, that's when you take the most massive action. The biggest exponential growth you've ever had was when you started your law firm. You went from 0 to something because your back was up against the wall. How many of you can remember those days? Why don't you go back there? When's the last time your back's been up against the wall? See, the difference is when you start the firm, it's by necessity. And then it's by what when you reach your survival needs? By choice. You now have to self-inflict growth on yourself. Right? That's exciting. Sign me up for that. Right? What can we bank on that would make a huge splash in our marketing? What can we bank on that would make a huge splash in the operations of our firm? Can we hire 4 people at once? Can we hire 7 people at once to solve one big problem in the firm? Could we spend $100,000 in a month on marketing on something? Some of you in this room actually could. I say this from a place of, tongue in cheek, but if we only spent $100,000 a month on marketing, I'd have to lay off a lot of people. It's not a big deal. It's just digits. Literally, it's just digits. Talking as a CEO who looks at these things on a macro scale, we just approved a $60,000 a month, I approved a $60,000 a month budget on Google Ads for ourselves. How long do you think it took for me to make that decision? It probably took me about 4 minutes. I just did some note-taking on my workbook. I said, okay, if we get this cost per lead and this conversion rate, 60, and we need this many more leads, and 60,000. Right? We ran the campaign. We launched it last week. It's this whole new campaign we built. And I think we've gotten 3 phone calls from it. And we're spending $2,000 a day right now. I'm hell yeah. Here's what I'm telling the team. I'm dude, there's something here. We're not getting leads from it. That means all of our competitors probably aren't doing this. And now I'm thinking to myself, what about all the people who click our Google ads that are now going to be retargeted on social? So now I'm getting in front of all these hot people on Google that I then can retarget to on social. Dude, I don't want any leads from Google. I just want to build this retargeting pixel up and then get these people to sign up through Facebook, right? So that's why it's so hard to compete with us. If you were a competitor of SMB team, it's just because my mindset around marketing is just, Mark Reel and I were talking about this yesterday, there's one other attorney in all of California who spends what he spends on Google, or spends half of what he spends on Google. So, as a marketing and coaching business, most of our competitors are advanced at marketing. So they know what they're doing, right? So like, this is exciting to me, that there are things that I know my competitors are going to give up on really quickly, and I have a strategy behind that, right? So I'm sharing that because while your actions have to match your vision, at the same time, your vision has to be big enough to impel action, right? And because my vision is so big for what I want to create, I would be a fraud if I didn't approve a $60,000 a month Google Ads account. I might as well rip up my vivid vision in front of my entire team and say, hey team, please quit, I'm a fraud. Everything I said about our vision is a lie. That's the standard I hold myself to, right? So this relationship that everyone in here has with what is a lot of money, what is a lot of team members, it's holding you back. Just because I get to hear from many, many, many different attorneys in our program. You don't win tiptoeing into anything. So my question to everyone here is, what is something that you can go all in on? What's something in 2024, for the rest of this year, we have 9 months left. What's something you can do that would blow your own mind? What I need everyone in here to commit to, and I would appreciate if everyone writes this down, because this is what I need everyone to have an experience of and commit to this. That you're going to commit to proving to yourself that the things you put in your vision actually get done.